Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is James Duggan with IGN, and I'm here with Mandy from Gameloft, and we are checking out Order in Chaos 2. This is a sequel to an MMO on the iOS. That's right. If you didn't play the first Order in Chaos, you missed an entire MMO on your iPhone or iPad, but now you have a chance to redeem yourself with Order in Chaos 2. So, Mandy, tell us what Order in Chaos 2 is all about.
So Order in Chaos 2 is continuing the story from the original Order in Chaos Online, but it's been 600 years, a lot of stuff has happened, and the world is pretty different from what players of the first game can expect. That said, it is an MMO, so you're going to see a lot of familiar MMO things going on here. And the first off is that we have with this game an entirely new race and class that you're seeing right now. The Kratons, which are a kind of lizardy people, is what most everyone refers to them as, and a Blood Knight, which is a player that actually uses their health in combat. So you have demon blessings. Some of your attacks will accumulate those for you, and some will actually spend them. And you see that he has some kind of nifty looking attacks going on.
I'm still trying to just wrap my head around the fact that there is a fully functional MMO on the iOS. When I looked up the game before you guys came in, I was looking at the Google reviews, and people love it. So it's obviously a functional MMO. It's interesting because I think the MMO has been something that's tried to come to console for 10 or so years, and it's failed probably because of a lack of a keyboard, but I suppose with an iPhone or iPad, like, you just pull up the keyboard function, you can type to players and party up. So it does seem like an easy translation, but what I guess were some of the challenges of bringing such a massive undertaking to the iPhone and iPad, and how has your audience responded to it?
Well, as you can guess, you kind of gave us a lot of the comparisons there, that it is this massive experience when you play an MMO. There's a gigantic world you have to create, and then you have to also, as you said, take into account the interface. And one of the things that works really well with mobile devices is that, like you said, you can bring up a keyboard. Everything can very easily be translated into a touchscreen. You know, there is chat options, you can party up, you can go into full-fledged dungeons. So all of this has kind of been brought together to make it that you can take an MMO on the go with you. That said, it is still a very large game in that you can sit down and, you know, dump a couple of hours into playing it like you would if you were playing any other MMO on a PC. And it's definitely a bit of an experience to translate an MMO over, because you do have to take into account that somebody playing on, say, a phone or a tablet is going to get a vastly different kind of experience than somebody that's playing on a console or a PC. Part of it being is they have to be a little more concerned about things like battery life. And sometimes you just don't have as much time. You don't necessarily have an hour to put into a dungeon, or you don't necessarily have, you know, your team or party available to you because you might be out and about traveling. So we've put in a lot of things into the game to kind of take into account for that you can just as much get a full MMO experience, party up, go into those dungeons, fight with your friends, or if maybe only have 15-20 minutes, you know, you're waiting for a meeting or something, you can sit down and go ahead and just have this quick experience, do some quests, go into a solo dungeon. All of those kind of brought together to try and make this experience just as good on a mobile device as you would find on other platforms.
Great. And I guess it goes without saying that the game requires constant online connectivity.
Yeah, so there is going to be Wi-Fi requirement for it, kind of par for course of the MMO.
Yes. So let's talk about the name and how it relates to the factions in the game. It's Order and Chaos, and of course there is Order and there is also Chaos. Order consists of I did a little bit of homework, so correct me if I'm wrong here, but human, Mendel, which is kind of a gnome-ish, kind of like a gnome with furry ears.
Yeah, they're kind of like short and small and stuff.
They're cute. And then there's elves, and then for Chaos there's orcs, Kraton?
Kraton,
yes.
Well
Nailed
done.
it. And undead, correct? Maybe? Yes?
That's about the balance.
Okay. All right.
So what you're going to find in the game, so at the end of Order in Chaos Online, for those that have played through that story, you actually find the Primal Heart, which is something that you've kind of been aware of as you played through the first game. And the Order of the Flame Knights destroyed it. They were like, if we destroy this, we will get rid of evil, and we will protect Herodon, which is the world you're in. Unfortunately, things never quite work out the way you expect them to, and they kind of had this cataclysm that happened and sent the world into this madness of change in not just the geography, but of the people and the setup of, you know, how all of the different races interacted. So coming into Order in Chaos 2, you're actually trying to kind of redeem yourself from what happened before. It's been 600 years. The world has vastly changed. And, you know, in this case, you also have things like the Kraden, which were a race that you saw in Order and Chaos Online. They were NPCs. They were people that you were aware of, but you couldn't play as them. They now are much more involved in the world. So a little bit of the lore has changed around all of them as time progresses, as, you know, the existence of the world itself has changed, you know, how they interact and all of that. And so as you progress through the game, you'll actually have the option to opt into factions, and those will play a part in what you can do in the game, but we're not going to give too much more detail on that.
Okay. Talk to me about, it doesn't just have to be specific to Order and Chaos 2, but just Order and Chaos in general. Some of the more hardcore elements of MMOs, things like dungeons, things like raids, things like PvP. It seems as though this is a full-fledged, full-featured MMO for the iOS. So does the game include PvP as well as group content like dungeons?
Yes, so there's going to be a whole list, but to give you a brief, you obviously have all of your typical questing and playing through the story and your PvE elements. You're also going to have a full-scale PvP, so we do have a PvP arenas. We have, you know, group up, go into dungeons. And then actually, our partner in crime here that's playing Ryan has just now gone into a solo dungeon, which is kind of one of our new experiences here to, again, compensate for the fact that a lot of people play on mobile. They don't have a lot of time. You know, maybe your friends aren't available right now, or maybe you only have a short amount of time, you know, to play, but you want to level up a little bit. You can go into the dream dungeons, which are the solo dungeons. They have time limits, they have objectives, and as you play through and accomplish them, you can still get that experience and that some of the rewards that you might expect from things like a full-scale dungeon. But then later on, when your buddies are ready and when you have, you know, an hour or two to drop, you can go into the regular, you know, full team dungeons as well.
So that's like an average dungeon runtime is like an hour or two?
It'll vary from dungeon to dungeon, and I haven't gotten to test out yet the hardest dungeon, or what we're told is the hardest dungeon in Order and Chaos 2, which is the Ymir Valley. But it's definitely going to be that full kind of multiplayer MMO experience as well.
With,
you know,
with the boss fights and
with the boss
heavy
fights,
mechanics. And
you're going to run into a lot of different enemy types in some of the dungeons. So it is going to be just like any other MMO, where you need to be aware of who's on your team, what are their abilities, what classes are they, and how well do you work together to tackle a dungeon.
That's fantastic. I'm really glad that the dungeons are that long and they're not 10 minutes or something absurd. You have to commit time. It's the MMO way, kids, for all of you who didn't stay up until 3 a.m. raiding when you were 15 years old like me. So talk to me about the overworld of the game. Is there an overworld, and if so, how large is it compared to what you would find in kind of a conventional PC MMO?
So it is pretty expansive, just in scale of, I'm not sure if I have like an exact example I can compare it to. I don't know the full size in that like ratio.
How many kilometers exactly?
How many kilometers is this
system?
world? I'm not sure. We've actually been asking about like the world map. Like, could you lay down the entire world map outside of what you see when you're playing? And one of, I guess the thing with it is for a mobile game, we do have some limitations because when you're putting it onto devices, there's a much more limited amount of space than what you would see on maybe a console or a PC. That said, we've tried to create a large, expansive game. We want people to be able to have that, you know, quality MMO experience that comes into exploring and into questing, to being sent to different areas, being able to really go out and, you know, feel like you're encountering different environments, and that each one is going to relate and come into how you play, you know, or the experience that you're having. And I mean, I'm trying to think that what the number of regions we have, but the thing with it is, and that I feel like is probably going to make it a fun for everybody as well, is that we've kind of integrated in, which Ryan was doing earlier, an instant quest system. So we really want to encourage everybody to explore because it's such a large world.
Great. Suffice it to say, it is a large world.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is your large MMO world. I'm
Excellent.
sorry I can't give you square kilometers.
No, that is totally fine. So I have 2 more questions for you. The first of which being, you discussed that there was an ending to Order of Chaos 1, which is something that's a little bit non-conventional for an MMO, as it is kind of an endless replayable experience. Are there content updates that come out? Or are there content updates that are planned for Order in Chaos 2? Or were there content updates in Order in Chaos 1? Or is it just kind of like the base game is what you were getting that you pay for?
No, it was, so it's actually quite interesting for us because the ending per se is just our perception of what the ending is. in preparation for playing through Order and Chaos 2, you kind of have to have a starting point to explain what's going on. Order and Chaos Online is still ongoing. All of these games launch and then continue to get updates. We usually aim for about every 2 to 3 months. We're instituting something new, whether it's adding in, say, a new dungeon or just expanding on what kind of events and things are going on in the world. But that said, Order and Chaos Online is actually still being updated. It's still getting content. So I guess saying it was an ending would be relative. It was the ending that created the beginning.
It was an ending to the narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
So players are still going to be going through that, and they can expect for Order and Chaos 2 to have the exact same thing going on.
Great.
You will get to see future content. There will be no per se ending for quite a while.
And Order and Chaos 2 launches on September 17th.
Yes.
So it is right around the corner. That's very exciting. What is the price point? I was reading the price point of Order and Chaos 1, and it seemed very reasonable.
The price point is that it's going to be free to play.
Oh, wow. So this one's totally free to play.
Yes, it's going to be completely free to play. So you'll just be able to go and download it straight off the store and, get this experience. We're kind of getting to see a little bit of questing and things going on. So you will have a free to play game. There will be in-app purchases, but they're not a requirement. You can play completely without ever dropping a dime on it if you'd like.
Excellent. This is dangerous. I can have an MMO experience from laying in my bed and not even moving any muscles. This is exciting. All right, Mandy, thank you so much for joining me for all things Order and Chaos. Keep it right here on IGN.